I love the Pursuer, not because of the fight itself, but because of how the Pursuer exists in the plot of Dark Souls 2. You first meet him on a ruined battlefield where he arrives on a bird, but he's not a boss. If you fail to defeat him there, you can challenge him again later, and he's a real boss. Not only that, but several times throughout the story he'll appear again and you'll have to fight him. He feels like a real rival to the bearer of the undead curse. He's someone I love to hate. Whenever he shows up, I'm always like, you again? Fine, time to show you who is boss. I think seeing him multiple times really adds to him persisting in my memory as one of the best characters in Dark Souls 2, rising above other dozens of bosses. Battle-wise, he's a floating knight character with fairly simple moves. In the boss fight itself, he's limited to his phase 1 moveset, which consists of a sword swipe and shield bash combo, a thrust and grab that reduces your max health, and a dash attack for closing distances. When he appears later in the game, he can get access to a phase 2 where he gets some dark projectiles and an explosion attack. It's all very standard and surprisingly solid, but the only common problem being that the grab has a hitbox that lasts a little bit too long. I think that if they were to port the Pursuer as a generic boss, it would work, but it also would be a supreme letdown. In my opinion, he would be so good as an invader. He wouldn't be super tough, but given that besides his boss fight, he usually appears in places with other enemies, he should do the same. So here's what I'm envisioning. Every enemy camp has a tiny chance of having the Pursuer invade you while doing its boss fight. You can run away and get no reward, he won't chase you around. However, if you stay and defeat him, you get some runes, and if you manage to do that without dying, he appears again during that night's boss fight when they get down to half health. Defeat him then, and he'll drop a reward akin to Dark Souls 2's, a talisman which you can choose from 3 options. One will always be a relevant talisman for the character, like the jump attack talisman for Raider or the guard counter talisman for Guardian. The second option is the talisman that targets the Night Lord's weakness, such as the Lightning Scorpion charm for Fulgor, the Kindred of Rot's Exaltation for fighting Adele, and so on. The last option is the Ritual Sword Talisman for the non-casters or another spell boosting talisman for the casters. Do this and I think the Pursuer will have been implemented in a way that is faithful to how he is in his original game, but also adapted perfectly to Nightraign's format. It would also add a little bit of planning. If the players have good talismans already or don't think they can handle the Pursuer in that night's fight, they can just ignore the initial enemy camp encounter, but the Pursuer's guaranteed helpful rewards would incentivize them to defeat him, unlike Libra's invasion rewards. Anyway, when it comes to ranking, I have been torn. I really want to give him the S tier, because if implemented how I would like him to be implemented, he would honestly be an S tier invader, way better than the other ones. However, the way I've established my ranking system is that the S tier bosses are ones that can basically be ported over to Nightraign with minimal changes, meaning that the Pursuer should get the A tier, since he needs some tweaking. I think I'm just going to go against my better judgment and give him... the S tier. I just can't let go of the idea that adding the S tier as an invader in an expedition would be the perfect way to implement him. He'd be a rare enough encounter to not really pose a problem for most people. I know this goes against my established ranking justifications, but I just really want him in the game how I detailed him. Sorry.